So the rest of this presentation is really going to talk about the 13 tools and why they are really the foundation. They are the structure of what it means to be successful here at Hamilton Center. So my question I want you to think about is, do you really understand the 13 tools? I mean, really think about it. Um, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, it'll be a enthusiastic, yes, I do really understand. And if it's not, that's fine. We'll continue to work on it. So I have the 13 tools listed there, and that's what you have on your badge. But we're really going to peel back the layers on what this means and why it's important, because the 13 tools that is the structure that Mr. Burks, as the CEO, has for the vision of Hamilton Center. And that vision is very successful. And so we're going to continue that. With the 13 tools, I like to divide them up into three different parts. So please make a note of that, because you'll see how they all fit together. So the first part is it's consumers first. We all know that. No negativity. So positive is what builds momentum towards progress. And so when you look at it, it's really good to think about the 13 tools in regards of layers. So at the center, you have consumers first. You can see that. And then when you go to this next thing, which is no negativity, that actually is the best thing for our consumers, which are often at their most vulnerable places when they come to us. They don't need to be encountering negative messaging, negative body language, negative attitudes. Mm-mm. We need to eliminate that, because that's the best for our consumers, and that's what we're here for. And then the blueprint is the vision of the CEO. So Mr. Burks has a vision. It's up for us to know what that vision is, because it's all in support of who? Consumer, making that consumer first. And then the only way that gets accomplished is through communication and collaboration. That's the only way you do it. So if you don't have that, blueprint don't work, people that are negative, and they're negatively impacting consumers. So that's just the first part of one way to look at the 13 tools. Consumers first, they need to be surrounded around no negativity. Blueprints the vision of Hamilton Center and the CEO, and trusting that vision. And that happens best through communication and collaboration. The next part, so that was part one. Now we're on part two, is PYJ. So, like, when you go to a place to work, you're supposed to do your job. And so, if you put that at the center, the best way to do your job is to understand what is the structure that you're operating in. And we operate in a cube. And I'll go over what that cube is. But it's really important that you understand that cube and why that cube is so powerful. And with the do your job, it's like you can do a job in a commonplace, kind of lackadaisical kind of way, or you can do it in a motivated, innovative way. And that's what breaking the mold is about. Here's the thing. It's like when you're doing those creative things and you're trying to think about, okay, what's the best way to do it? We all have things. We all have priorities. We all have ways that we like to do things. And what the red wagon is, do you understand the way Mr. Burks would like to do things? And that is the way that it needs to be done. So that's what the red wagon is. It's about emptying the way that you like to do it and understanding what is the way that the CEO, who's the leader of our organization, would like to do it. And that's what we will do. That's what the red wagon. And so that relates to you do your job, because you're hired. In your job description, it's spelled out. This is what we want you to do. You use the cube for that. You can do it in creative ways to keep the consumers first. At the end of the day, are you doing it the way based on the vision of the CEO, emptying out the way you would like to do it and understanding what that is? And that should be communicated in the job description. So we'll talk about that. So that was part two. And then the last thing, part 3, and this is all with the 13 tools, is talking about corporation. So corporation, corpus, Latin, one body. And you'll remember we talked about together as one. That's getting to that concept of one body. So these are phrases that Mr. Burke says over and over again. Peel back the layers. So don't settle for just a surface level understanding of anything, any task that you are assigned or that you come across within our leadership team. You got to peel it all the way back, because that's how we find the best way to do it. That's how we best serve our consumers. Don't step over the little things. It's amazing how some of the littlest things can cause really, really, really big problems. So it's our job to peel back the layers, and then when we're peeling it back, if we see something little, we can't just, oh, well, that doesn't matter. No, we need to dig deep on that too. Dollar for dollar, we need to be as efficient as possible, and then we're going to be fine tuning. So all of these are part of the phrases and the vocabulary and the language that we will use in our leadership team. So those are the 3 parts of the 13 tools, and they look like that. So when you think of it, you have consumers first, which we talk about here, the no negativity blueprint community. You have the do your job, which starts here. You have the cube, red wagon, and then you have the corporation, which is one body. And so as we are working through things as a corporation, are we peeling back the layers? Are we not stepping over the little things? Are we looking at dollar for dollar? Are we fine tuning all the time? So that is the level that Mr. Burks works at. And so that's the level we need to match. So that is our structure. So if you could ever get any questions from Mr. Burks or anyone about what is the structure of Hamilton Center, this is it. It's consumers first. It's do your job. It's one body. And then all of the layers that go through that. So if you have questions on just that explanation, hey, just send me an email. But I wanted to go through that through you just to clearly communicate how the 13 tools operate as part of our structure. We're talking about the cube here, do your job. See that? Where are we? Right there. See the next thing? So do your job. There's the cube. This is how the cube looks with the do your job, staff at the bottom. You have the chiefs and executive directors, director and hiring managers are the different faces of the cube. So that is the structure, which goes to this. What's in the center? The consumer. How many parts to the 13 tools? There are 3. So at any given time, all of those things are working together to do what? Help support the consumer. So really visualize that. The consumer first is at the center of how we'll be working together. How many parts to 13 tools? 3 major parts. What are they? They're right there. And how do they look? They're like that for our consumers. So again, let's talk about the different divisions. You see the consumers right there. We've already talked through those areas. So now let's talk about our team.